Greetings all, old Selgus here from Azeroth's Court again, my ne'er-do-wells. And in this video, I want to talk about one of my favorite anime this season, if not my favorite, Snowball Earth. Now, this is a pretty interesting anime, in old Selgus' opinion. There's pretty much everything but the kitchen sink thrown in here. I mean, it's about intergalactic kaiju for one, which gives you vibes of kaiju number 8 and even more so, in my opinion, Neogenesis Evangelion, with the whole angels, even though these creatures are kaiju that look more than anything else like, well, the general one looks like, that we see most often, looks like, well, I guess it'd be like salamanders, or maybe newts more precisely, like there's like giant newts. You have this boy Tatsuo, mirroring Shinji, who's able to control this semi-sentient or maybe even fully sentient robot that he pilots called Yukio. I keep wanting to call him Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's Yukio. And anyway, he is hailed as the savior of Earth because he can do this, and also his father is like the head of the project, much like with there and Neogenesis Evangelion. He's a reluctant pilot, as we know if you ever watched the original Evangelion or any of them, and he doesn't want to be it. Same with Tetsuo here, but it's definitely not as dark as that show. He accepted and pilots Yukio and is hailed as the savior, killing off a lot of these kaiju and becomes the #1 weapon of the UN organization, once again similar to Neogenesis Evangelion. And everything seems to be bopping along for a few years. So middle school student, of course, when we start this out. Everything popping along for about, I believe it's about 5 years or close to it. And then they develop a plan, to lure all the kaiju that come from outer space back into the space at the border of interstellar space at the end of the solar system. And Tetsuo polishing Yu-Gi-Oh there, who speaks back and forth to him because he's like sentient or semi-sentient, has his own personality. Kind of reminds me of the genie from the old Aladdin cartoons. And they lure out all the kaiju there, like hundreds of thousands of them, and they want to destroy them, but the kaiju overwhelms Yu-Gi-Oh and Tetsuo and tear apart Yu-Gi-Oh's body, and Tetsuo escapes an escape pod, ends up going back to Earth where he gets basically frozen because Earth has become a frozen waste. Like, that's the title, Snowball Earth. It's become like another ice age, in the few months since he left. And he's stuck there in hibernation, basically frozen for about 10 years, and then, a decade, which he hadn't aged much in that time. He's been frozen. He's still around 20 or whatever. And when he, is on thawed, when he thawed, the whole world, like I say, is a waste and a desolation. It's basically an ice ball there. That's the title, Snowball Earth. And he at first thinks he's lost to Yukio, but soon we find out Yukio's core programming has gone into the escape pod. Is able to reconfigure it into a weaker version of one of the, of the mech robot he was before. This mech robot looks like basically a talking, walking egg with eyes and limbs. It still has some things like a plasma blade in one of the limbs that, well, I think both of the limbs, yeah, that he can fight with. So Tetsuo can pilot him. And the whole thing is Tetsuo never made any friends, because he had to be the pilot of the mech, once again, like Evangelion. So thankfully, let's start. And the rest of the series revolves around him hooking up with some survivors for some ice tunnels, and he is able to kill a new mutant variety. It's kind of like a longer and bigger after killing a standard one. Going to kill this larger, more intelligent mutant variety of a kaiju with the Yukio pod, which, after he kills the other one with just basically a broken off metal stake of like wreckage, the standard one. But him and Yukio kill the bigger, longer, taller one. And then after he hooks up with these survivors, starts making friends with, like, it's a big part of it, like I say, is social awkwardness. We learn that there's varieties of like kaiju. They all start out as these kind of newt-like things, but some mutate, and they end up looking like everything from reindeer to giant birds to toads to armadillos. And this new variant can be tamed. Like he gets in with a girl who's like a tamer. She's tamed like to the flashback to a few years ago. She's tamed like a giant bird one that's like not only a bird but it can emit fire, and it's the thing that lives under the shopping mall. This band of survivors is taken over and warms it up, and it's basically this. She's like a heat pump. That's how they're able to survive there. Even off the scavenging, they would need a place to stay warm because it's so cold, like an ice ball. And we find out that like she's not only the only tamer. There's like an evil general that was always jealous of like Yukio and Tatsu. He wanted to be the savior. He started as just a human fighter, but then after this happened, the snowball event, which I'll get back to what caused that at the end, he has developed the ability to tame a kaiju as well, and he has like a cadre of like about 20 something, early 20s children, late teen children around him too that he created while Tetsuo's away, create more pilots for these new kind of not Evangelions, lol. And interesting thing about him is Squad and the other girl that I mentioned earlier with the Firebird kaiju. Once they bond with the kaiju, they all their hair turns white, which is kind of interesting. Just kind of reflecting thematically the whole snowball thing. But so there's like the only Evangelion in there in kaiju number 8. But there's also things like beast tamers, like Pokemon, and Digimon, because they all have their own little, well, big, in this case, monsters that they, tame these kaiju, and they have like psychic connections to them and can hear them talk. And we learn that the kaiju are quite intelligent, at least this mutant variety. And like I said, they become everything from turtles to armadillos to, these mutant varieties to all other sorts of things. And then they fight Yukio and Tatsu, and we're about halfway through the first season of the anime. I haven't read the manga, so I'm not really sure what happens next. But right now, they're going to attack the base. Like the majority of these kids that work for the evil general. But the evil general, a couple of the kids stay behind to fight Yukio and Tatsu, where they caught them outside, along with another character whose mother was killed by one of the kaiju, which is interesting enough. The kaiju they ate was like an armadillo type thing, but it's under the control of one of these kids. Because the kid complains, "Oh, you hurt my kaiju," when she defeats it, and basically fills its mouth full of like spikes. So can't eat anyone again, and like she even calls it by name, like one of this guy's squad of the evil generals, and she's like, "Oh, dang, I'm like useless now because I don't have my kaiju. Like I'll have to get another one." So that's interesting. So I guess she just let it go around eating people, maybe before she tamed it. Though if it was after she tamed it, that's pretty dark. But yeah, he sent in the rest to attack them all, like the evil general, while him and the two of his soldiers stay behind and fight Tetsuyu and this other girl. They've already like crippled by destroying one arm of the egg-like version of Yukio, escape pod. So, like, say it's about halfway through. It's like really good so far. They're throwing a lot of shit together to see what sticks to the wall, but I'm enjoying it. Like I said, it's kind of a hybrid between Evangelion, Kaiju number 8, with a little bit of that sprinkled in, and the other bigger half of the hybrid is something like Digimon. That's how I would describe it, a hybrid between Digimon, Neo Genesis Evangelion, with a little bit of Kaiju number 8 sprinkled in for good measure, the whole that they all end up getting linked to their kaiju and can use their powers to a degree, like the flame bird one, she can use like flames, and of course the other ones all have whatever powers their kaiju have. They all have that white hair, including the general. So that is very interesting. So like I say, it's about halfway through. I'm really enjoying it. It's a nice fun romp. There are some sad moments. It's not nearly as dark as something like Evangelion. So I say give Snowball Earth a chance. So far, I give it a 3 out of 5, or about a 6.5, maybe 7 out of 10. Nothing truly extraordinary to write home about, but it's also a good solid anime. Despite that, nice, good shown in a good adventure. Well, anyway, from Azeroth's court, I bid all my near to wells fond farewell, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, subscribe, comment, whatever you want to do to help us grow the channel. I'll probably be starting a TikTok soon with that song that I posted yesterday. If you know, you know. Anyway, from Azeroth Court, have a wonderful day. Bye bye. Farewell, Nerdwell.